Hello everyone, my name is Ryan King, and welcome to this complete tutorial series where I'm going to show you how to create this Sci-Fi Mech Robot in Blender. So this is going to be a 10-part tutorial series, and it's all going to be completely free on my YouTube channel. And I will show you the complete process step by step on how to create this sci-fi robot mech character. So in this part 1, we're going to start off by modeling the robot's head. Then in part 2, we're going to be modeling the robot's neck. And then in part 3, we're going to be modeling the robot's body and the backpack. Then in part 4, we're going to be modeling the robot's hips and the upper legs. And then in part 5, we will finish up all the modeling by modeling the lower legs and the feet. So by the end of part 5, we'll have finished the modeling. Then in part 6, we're going to be lighting the scene, and then we're going to start by creating some basic materials. And we're going to add those materials onto the robot's head. Then in part 7, we're going to be adding all the materials to the rest of the body. So by the end of part 7, we'll have the completed robot character with all the modeling finished and the lighting and the materials. Then in part 8, we're going to be prepping for the rigging. So we're going to be applying some different modifiers like the mirror modifier, and we're going to separate the objects out, like separate the two different sides of the legs and just get the robot ready for rigging. Then in part 9, we're going to be rigging the robot, and we are going to use an armature with bones to rig the robot character. So by the end of part 9, the robot will be completely rigged. And then in part 10, the very last part, we're going to be animating a walk cycle. So we'll be animating this walk cycle right here, and then we will render out the frames and then use Blender's video editor to compile the frames together, and we'll even be adding some sound effects for the robot's legs, and then we'll render that out to a finished video. And I am going to be using the Eevee rendering engine, so it's Blender's real-time rendering engine, but you could totally use Cycles as well. This tutorial will work great in both Cycles and Eevee. I will be using Eevee though for the tutorial. So as I said earlier, this entire tutorial series is going to be completely free on my YouTube channel, but I am trying to create Blender tutorials and Blender content for a living, so if you'd like to help support me and this channel, I would really appreciate your support. So one really great way to help support me is by purchasing the project files for this tutorial. When you purchase the project files, you'll get all of the tutorial files, so you'll get like the modeling reference images, the HDRI lighting, and the finished render, as well as the finished Blender file with the finished robot. So I will have the links in the video description where you can purchase the tutorial files on my Gumroad store. And as well as getting the project files on my Gumroad store, you can also get access to the tutorial files if you join my Patreon page. And some great ways to help support me here on YouTube is by checking out the YouTube memberships. So if you click right down there on that join button next to the subscribe button, if you join my memberships, you'll be helping to support the channel each month, and you'll get some cool perks here on YouTube. And if you enjoy these tutorial videos and you'd like to give me a little tip, you can send me a super thanks here on YouTube by clicking on the little super thanks button underneath this video. But even if you're not able to help support financially, liking the video, commenting, subscribing, and all that really does help me out, so I do appreciate all of your support. And also, after watching this tutorial series, if you'd like to watch some other sci-fi robot tutorials, then I have 2 other robot tutorial series on my YouTube channel. So I have this tutorial on how to create this sci-fi worker robot, and then also this sci-fi robot drone. You can check out those tutorial series with the link in the description. Alright, so let's go over the resources that I'm going to be using in the tutorial. So over here on polyhaven.com, I'm going to be downloading this Suburban Field 02 HDRI. So this is a free HDRI, and I'm going to download the 1K version and the HDR version, and I'll just download this. And why I'm downloading this is to get some nice realistic lighting and reflections in the 3D scene. So we're going to be adding this as an environment texture in the world. And then at the very end of the tutorial series, when we do the animation, I do want to add some sound effects to go along with the robot's legs walking. So over here on freesound.org, I'm going to be downloading this 3-legged robot walker sound effect. And this is a free sound effect from freesound.org, and it's been licensed as Creative Commons 0. This is a really great sound effect for the robot's legs walking. So I will be downloading this and then putting it in the final animation at the end of the tutorial. And then to help us with the modeling, I'm also going to be using these modeling reference images that I created. So I will have a free download of these reference images on my Gumroad store and Patreon page. Link is in the description, and you can download them, and then we'll be adding them into Blender, and it will just help us with the modeling. You don't have to use them if you don't want to, but if you want to get the robot more accurate to my robot, then it would be helpful. And if you're downloading the free reference images on my Gumroad store, you can throw a few dollars into the price box before downloading, and that's a great way to give me a little tip and help to support me. Alright, so just open up a new scene in Blender and we can get started. So I have my screencast keys right down here so you can see what buttons I'm pressing during the tutorial. So I'm going to start by double tapping the A key to select everything, and then I'm going to press X to delete, and we just want to click on delete. Always make sure you delete the default cube because you can't use the default cube, you have to add a new one. Alright, so let's save this Blender file. So I'm going to click on File, and then I'm going to click on Save As. And I'll just save this Blender file in a folder on my computer where I'm going to save all of the tutorial files. And then I'll just click on Save As. So as you're working on the project, you can press Ctrl S, and that is the shortcut key to save the file. So now let's add in those free modeling reference images. So what I'm going to do is press the 1 on the numpad, and that's going to take me to the front view. So I'm going to press Shift A, and Shift A is going to bring up this add menu, and I'm going to go right down here to image, and then I'm going to click on background. And then once you've downloaded the reference images, you can just extract the zip file, go into the folder, and I'm going to first add the front view image. So just click on the front view, and then you can click on load background image, and you can see it's going to be right there. And I'm going to press G to grab, and then I'm going to click and hold with my mouse wheel to constrain it to the x-axis, and I'm just going to make sure it's in the very front there. So make sure that blue line there is going right down the center of that robot. Alright, so I'm now going to press 3 on the numpad. That's going to take me to the side view, and I can press Shift A again. Let's go right down here to image, and I can click on background. And then the next one that I'll be adding is the robot mech side, so I'll click on that, and I'll click on load background image. And because we were looking at this on the side view, it's now added it on the side view. So if I press 1 on the numpad, that's going to go to front view, or 3 on the numpad, and that's going to go to side view. So I can now press 7 on the numpad, that's going to go to top view, and then I can press Shift A, let's go to image, and again I can load in a background. And then for this one, I'm going to be adding in the robot mech top, and I'll click on load background image. So now I can press 1, 3, and 7, and that's going to take me all around on the different views. But then if I click with my mouse wheel, you can see that we're not able to see the reference images, and that is what I want because I don't want to be able to see the reference images in the perspective view. I only want to be able to see them if I go into the orthographic perspective. So if you press the 5 on your numpad, that's going to go into the orthographic perspective, and I can see those reference images, or I can press 1, 3, and 7. So let's press the 1 on the numpad to go to front view, and I now want to add a cube to make the robot's head. So first, let's hold down the Shift S button. So hold down Shift S. I'm going to move my mouse to cursor to world origin, and then let go of the Shift and S button. And that's just going to make sure the 3D cursor here is in the very center of the world. So I can now press Shift A, and let's go here to mesh, and I'm going to add a cube. And you can see when I add the cube, it's added right there where the 3D cursor is. So I can now press G to grab. Let's hit Z to bring this up on the Z axis, just like that. And then I'm going to press the tab key, and the tab key is going to take me into edit mode of the cube. And then I want to be able to see through the cube, so I'm going to hold down the Z button, move my mouse into the wireframe, and then let go of the Z button. So we're now in the wireframe view. You can also just click right here to go to wireframe, and I can now just navigate here and just kind of zoom in. So I will now press S to scale. We're going to scale this down even more. Just scale it down to the correct size. That is the correct size for the robot's head. And then I can press the 3 on the numpad. That's going to take me to side view. And you can see that I need to bring it over. But actually what I want to do is I just want to bring the reference images over because I want the robot's head to be in the very center of the 3D scene. So what I'm going to do is press the tab key, and the tab key will take me back to object mode. So right here, I'm just going to click to select this reference image. Then I'm going to press 7 on the numpad, and that's going to take me to the top view. And I'm going to hold down the shift key and then just select the top reference. And then I'm also going to press 1 on the numpad, and that's going to take me to the front view. And then again, I can hold down the shift key and then just select the front reference. So I'm now going to press 3 on the numpad, and that's going to take me to the side view, and I just want to bring them back. So I'm going to press G to grab, and then you can click with your mouse wheel and then let go, and that is going to constrain it to an axis, and I want to bring it on the Y axis. And then I'm just going to bring this over and just stick it right here. So if I zoom in, you can see there's this blue line, and the blue line is the Z axis going up and down. And so I want to bring the reference images so that the neck and the head are in the very center of the 3D scene. So I'm now going to press the A key to deselect everything, and I'm just going to select the cube. So I can now press the tab key to go into edit mode, and I'm going to press the A key to deselect everything. Then I can press B, and B is going to bring up the box select, and I can click and drag, and I'm just going to select all of the front vertices. So I can now kind of zoom in here, and I'm going to press G to grab, and again click with your middle mouse wheel to constrain this on the Y axis, and I'm going to bring this over and then place it right there. So now I'm going to press the 7 on the numpad, and the 7 on the numpad will take me to top view, and I just want to make sure that the top reference is in the right place. So if I just press tab to go back to object mode and just select the reference, you can see that is looking correct. You can see that the reference image is right there on the front of the robot's head, but you can see that this robot reference image is kind of moved over to the side a little bit. So you can see there's that little green line, and that is the Y axis. So with this reference image selected, I'm going to press G to grab, and then click with your middle mouse wheel and let go to constrain it to the Y axis, and I'm just going to move it over and then place it right there. And if I press 1 on the numpad, that should also be in the very center there. Alright, so that's looking good. So I can now press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. So now we've ensured that the reference images are in the correct spot because we've aligned all of them up with the cube and they're all in the same spot. So I'm now just going to select the cube again. Let's press Ctrl S to save, and then I'm going to press the tab key to go into edit mode. So I will click with my middle mouse wheel, and I'm just going to bring this out. So the robot's head is going to be mirrored on both sides. So what I want to do is delete half of the cube, and then I will add a mirror modifier, and that way it's going to mirror this geometry over to the other side. So to do this, I first need to add a loop cut in here to cut the cube in half. So to add a loop cut, I'm going to press Ctrl R, and then I'm going to move my mouse over to when I can see there's that yellow line there going in the center of the cube. So I can now left click, and then I can right click, and that's going to bring it back to its middle position. So I now want to delete half of the cube. So I'm going to press the A key to deselect everything. Then I can press B for the box select, and I'm just going to drag a box around all of these vertices on this side of the cube. So I can now hit the X key to delete, and I just want to delete the vertices. So now if I hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view and let go, you can see that half of the cube has been deleted. So I now want to add a mirror modifier to mirror it over to the other side. So what I'm going to do is go right here to the modifier properties, and I'm going to click on add modifier, and let's go here to generate, and I'm going to go right down here and add the mirror modifier. And so that is going to mirror it over to the other side. And something really important to note is that it is mirroring it from the object's origin. And because we added the object in the very center of the 3D scene, the origin point of this object is this little orange dot right there. And so wherever the object's origin is, it's going to mirror that over from the object's origin. And in the comments of my videos, I do get quite a few people having problems with the mirror modifier. And so because of that, I created a specific tutorial on understanding how the mirror modifier works and how to fix any mirror modifier problems. So if you'd like to check out that tutorial on how to fix mirror modifier problems, I'll have the link right down there in the video description. Now, if I press the A key to select everything, I can press G to grab, and you can see I can bring the cube out from the mirror. And so you can see that now it's making a gap and the cube isn't connected. But I don't want to do this because I want the cube to be connected in the very center. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo that. So what I want to do to fix this is on the mirror modifier settings, I want to check mark this clipping button. And if this is check marked, I can now press G to grab, and I can bring this out, but you can see it's going to kind of stretch it, and it's going to keep it connected with the mirror modifier. And so that is very important that you turn on the clipping button. So I'm now going to press 3 on the numpad to go to the side view. So now let's continue to shape the head. So I'm going to hold down the Z button, move my mouse into the wireframe, and then let go of the Z button. So I'm now going to press the A key to deselect everything, and I'll press B for the box select. Let's just drag a box around these vertices here on the top. I can kind of zoom in here, and then I can press G to grab, and let's hit Z to bring it down on the Z axis, and we'll just stick it right there, aligning with the reference images. Let's press A to deselect everything. I can press B for the box select. We're just going to drag a box around these vertices. I can press G and Z, and we're going to bring that up on the Z axis and just stick it right there on the bottom of the head. And then I'll press A to deselect everything, B for the box select, just box select those vertices. I can press G to grab, click with your mouse wheel, constrain it to the Y axis, and I want to stick it right here. What I'm trying to do is have the back of the head meet up right there where that bevel starts. So I can press A to deselect everything, and then let's press B for the box select, and I just want to box select these vertices right down here, and I now want to add a bevel right here. So I'm going to add a bevel along this edge right here. So I'll press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, kind of zoom in here, and then I'm going to press Control B. So Control B is going to add a bevel, and I can just bring this out, move your mouse to bring it out, and I'm just going to stick it right there so it fits the reference, and then just click to place that right there. So if I just click with my mouse wheel to zoom over here, I can hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and you can see what we've created. So we've just added a little bevel there on the back of the head. Let's also press 1 on the numpad. 1 on the numpad is going to go to front view. I can hold down the Z button, go to wireframe, and then press A to deselect everything. I'll press B for the box select, and I'm going to box select these vertices right here. And then again, I want to add a bevel. So I'm going to press Control B, move your mouse out, and just kind of have the bevel fit the reference, and then click to place that there. So if I click with my middle mouse wheel, kind of zoom out here, you can see what we've created. So we've just added a bevel right there on the head. And then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view again, and let's just navigate right here. And I'm going to press A to deselect everything. Again, press B and drag a box around these vertices, and then I can press Control B, and I'm going to bring my mouse out and then place it right there when it fits the reference image. So I can hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and you can see what we've created. So I now want to look at the back of the robot's head. So if I press 1 on the numpad, that'll take me to the front view. But if I press Control 1 is going to take me to the back view. So now what I want to do is I want to add a cut right in here so that this is a separate face. Because if I middle click to zoom out here, I want to create a separate face right here, and this face is going to be extruded out. If I press 7 on the numpad for top view, you can see I want to extrude out that little bit right there. It's kind of like some fins on the back of the robot's head. So again, I'm going to press Control 1, and Control 1 is going to go to back view. Then I'm going to hold down the Z button and go to wireframe, and I can press A to deselect everything. So now I just want to add a cut going through that entire cube. So what I'm going to do is press the K button, and the K button is going to activate the knife tool. And you can see our mouse now just looks like a little knife. Now there's a couple settings that I want to turn on before I actually add the cut. I first want to press the C button, and if you press the C button, that is going to toggle between the cut through. Now how I know that the cut through is turned on is by looking right down here in kind of the bottom of the screen. I can see it says cut through on, but if I press the C button, now it says cut through off. So I want to press the C button, and that is going to turn it on. Just make sure it says on. So what the cut through is going to do is going to cut through the entire mesh. So normally when you use the knife tool, it's just going to cut through the face, which is in the very front, which is the closest to you. But if you use the cut through, if you have the cut through turned on, it's going to cut through the entire mesh. Now the other thing that I want to do is I want to press the Z button. So if I look right down here, you can see there is this orientation lock, and right now it says off. And I can scroll my mouse wheel just to move over, and you can see the orientation lock is set to off. But if I now press the Z button, now you can see that orientation lock says Z right there. And so now it's going to be turned on, and to know it's turned on, it's actually going to lock the orientation of our cut. So I now want to click right here, just click right there, and that is going to add a cut. And then I'm going to bring this down, and then I'm going to click right there, just click right there to add another cut. All right, so we've added a cut from here going all the way down, and I can now hit the enter button. So if I now click with my middle mouse, kind of look around here, hold down the Z button and go back into solid view, you can see it's basically cut an entire loop around there on the face. So I now want to just select this new face, which we've cut out. So to select this face, I'm going to press the 3 on the top of my keyboard. So go to the face select mode, and this way you can just click and select different faces. And so I want to select this face right here. So let's now press the 3 on the numpad. That's going to go to side view, and then I'm going to zoom in here. So I'm going to press E to extrude, and I'm just going to extrude this out. and just place it right there. So you can see that now it's fitting the reference image right there. And then I want to extrude it out even farther. So I'm going to press E again to extrude. We're going to bring this all the way out there and then just click to place that. And if I hold down the Z button, go into wireframe, you can see there is that extra loop right there, which is matching up with the references. So I now want to go back to the vertex select so I can select vertices. So you can press the 1 on the top of your keyboard or just click right here to go to the vertex select. I'm going to press the A key to deselect everything, and I want to bring these vertices up. So I'm going to press B for the box select, just box select these vertices, and then I can press G to grab, and then hit Z to bring it up on the Z axis, and I'm going to bring it up and just kind of stick it right there. So basically this line right here should be pretty aligned with the reference image right down there. So with these vertices still selected, I'm going to press Control B, and Control B is going to add a bevel. And then what you can do is you can scroll your mouse wheel so that there are 5 cuts. So I can now bring my mouse farther away or closer up to those vertices, and that is going to change the size of the bevel. So I'm just going to make it fit the reference images and then click to place that there. So I can now hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, I can click with my middle mouse wheel, and you can see what we've done. So this is the part that we extruded out, and then we just added that bevel there to make that nice and smooth. Now if I press 3 on the numpad again to go to the side view and hold down the Z button and go into wireframe, you can see that there is a little cut there. It's kind of like a hole going into that area, and then there's that little pipe there. And so I want to add that. So I'm going to hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and then I want to select these faces. So let's click right here on the face select mode. I'm now going to select this face, hold down the shift key and select this face, and then I can hold down the Z button and go back to the wireframe, and that way I can see the reference images in the background. So I want to inset these faces so that there is some other faces inside these faces. So to do this, you can press the I key, and I can just kind of bring my mouse in and just make those fit the references, and then just click to place that there. And then to make it fit with the reference images, you could just press G to grab and just kind of bring that up a little bit so it fits the references better. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and I'm going to click with my middle mouse wheel and just kind of look over here on side view. So I now want to extrude these in so that there's a little hole there in the back of the robot's head. So to extrude these faces into the mesh, I can press the E key, but instead of bringing it out, I want to push it back in. So I'm going to bring it in probably to about that far and then click to place that there. All right, so now we have that little area going in. So let's press the tab key to go back into object mode. So we're not in edit mode now, we are now back in the object mode. Now if you zoom in here and look really close, you can see that all of the edges are very sharp, and that isn't very realistic because everything in the real world does have just a little bit of beveling or just a little bit of smoothness on the edge. And so I want to add the bevel modifier to just give all of these edges just a tiny little bit of a bevel, and that'll just make it look more realistic. So I'm going to click on add modifier, just make sure you have the object selected. I'm going to click on add modifier, and I'm going to go right down here under generate, and I'm going to add the bevel modifier. So now if you look around here, you can see it's adding that sharp bevel to all of the edges. Now there also is this angle limit right here, and so what this is going to do is it's not going to add bevels if the angle is very small. So if I look right here, you can see it's adding bevels there. It's also adding bevels here, like this face going down to this face, that's like a 90-degree turn. But then if you look right here, you can see that this is a very subtle turn and it's a very subtle curve. And so because we have this angle limit on, the angle limit is on default. Because we have the angle limit on, it's not going to add a bevel right here on these vertices, and that is what I want because I wouldn't want that to look very sharp. But then right here where it's very sharp, where the mesh is kind of turning like right here and all the other areas, I do want that to have a bevel. Now the bevel is much too big and I want to make it much smaller. So I'm going to press the tab key to go back to object mode. So if I hold down the shift key, I can then click and drag on this amount here, and that's going to change the size of the bevel. So I want to make mine very, very small, and specifically I'm going to be using a value of 0.004, but you can just change it to whatever amount you like. So now you can see there's just a tiny little bit of a bevel. Now if I zoom in here, you can see the bevel is very sharp because there's basically only one face. So on the segments right here, I'm going to turn the segments up to a value of 3. And that way if I zoom in here, now you can see there's just a little bit more of those segments in the bevel. So it's basically rounding out the bevel and making it more smooth. Now it still is kind of rough and kind of chunky. You can kind of see those little flat faces and some flat faces pieces around there, and so I want to shade this object smooth. So you can use the object context menu by right-clicking and then clicking on shade smooth. Now I use the W key to bring up the object context menu, and that's because I use right-click to select different objects, but you can just right-click to bring up the object context menu, and then I can just click on shade smooth. So this is going to shade the object smooth, and now if I kind of zoom in here to the edges, you can see that edge looks nice and smooth, and that's very good. And you're also not able to see those chunky parts right there. It looks nice and smooth. Let's press Ctrl S to save the Blender file. So I now want to add some details kind of here on the back of the head, and I want to add kind of like some little metal beams. So I'm going to press the Tab key to go back to edit mode, and then just make sure you are in the face select. And I'm just going to select this face right here. So I'm now going to press Shift D, and Shift D is going to duplicate whatever you have selected. I'm just going to bring this out. And then I can press S to scale, and I'm going to scale this piece down. And because we have the clipping turned on the mirror modifier, if I press G to grab, try to pull this out, it's going to stay connected to the mirror. So I can press G to grab and S to scale and G to grab, and I'm going to stick this down there. And then I will kind of navigate up here, and I'm going to bring it in a little bit closer, and I will scale it down a bit more. So I can now press E to extrude, and I'm going to extrude this back in there just like that. So now I have this little metal beam right there. Then with my mouse hovered over this object, I'm going to press the L key, and the L key is going to select any of the linked vertices, so it's going to select this entire thing. And then I want to duplicate this and make one more kind of down here. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate. Let's bring this down and hit Z to bring it down on the Z axis. Then I can press S to scale, and let's scale this up. Click to place that, and then I can press S to scale, and let's scale this on the Z axis, and I'm going to make it a bit thicker. All right, so just something like that, maybe bring it up a little bit on the Z axis. Now, if I press the Tab key to go back to object mode, you can see the shading looks a little bit weird. You can see like right here, it looks a little bit darker, whereas the rest of the object looked a bit lighter. And this is because we need to recalculate the normals. So basically this cube right here is flipped inside out, whereas this mesh is fine, but these two cubes are kind of flipped inside out. Now how I know that is just because the matte cap lighting looks a little bit weird. So if you click right here to go to the shading, you can see there's different matte caps, and I can just tell that it looks different and it looks kind of darker. But if you don't know for sure, you can click on this little arrow, and this is going to open up the overlays, and then you can click on the face orientation. The faces that you want to see are the blue sides of the face, because the blue sides of the face are the outer sides. But if you go inside here, if you go inside the mesh, the red side is going to be the inside of the face. And so that's a problem because you can see the red right here, and I don't want to see that. So I'm going to press the Tab key to go into edit mode, and then I can just double tap the A key to make sure everything is selected. Now to recalculate the normals or flip the normals, you can press Shift N. So Shift N is going to recalculate the normals, and you can see right above me there also is this recalculate normals setting, and if you open this up you can also manually change it by clicking on the inside button. So let's just press the Tab key to go back to object mode, and I can click right here on the drop down, and I can click on the face orientation. Now if I navigate kind of to the bottom of the head, I also want to add a little hole here in the back of the robot's head, and then this is where like the neck object is going to be, and we'll also add some little sci-fi details in here. So to add this, I need to add some loop cuts in here, and then we can use the loop cuts to cut out the mesh where we want the hole to be. So to do this, I'm going to again use the knife tool to cut out where I want the hole to be. So I'm going to press 3 on the numpad. That's going to go to the side view, and I can hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe view. And I can press Tab to go into edit mode. So I now just want to add a cut where I want the back of the hole to be. So if I press Control R is going to add a loop cut, but if I move around here, you can see I could add a loop cut right there, but it's not allowing me to add a loop cut right here on this face. And this is because we beveled this face, and so this face has a lot of edges. So I'm going to press the Escape key, and that is going to go out of the mode of adding a loop cut. So I instead want to use the knife tool. So I'll press A to deselect everything, and then I'm going to press K for the knife tool. And I want to click right here and kind of drag down and cut through the mesh. Now again, I want to press the C button, and that is going to turn the cut through on. And then I also want to bring it straight down on the Z axis. So I'm also going to press the Z button, and the Z button is going to turn on the orientation lock. So I can now now just click right here, basically in the center where that blue line is. I can click, and then I can drag this down. You can see it's locking it up and down, and then I can bring my mouse right down there, and then click again. That's going to add another cut, and then I can press the Enter key to confirm that. So now if I hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, you can see we have added that cut right there, and it's going all the way through the mesh. So I'm now going to navigate right down here, and these faces are the ones I want to delete because that's where I want the hole to be. So just make sure you go to the face select by clicking right here, and I can select this face, and then I can press X to delete, and we want to click on faces to just delete the faces, and then I can also click right here. Let's press X to delete, and I want to delete the faces. So now what I want to do is I want to fill faces in here. So what I'm going to do is go right back over here to the vertex select. So I'm now going to select this vertex, and then I can hold down the shift key and select this vertex. And I'm going to press E to extrude, and then I'm going to hit Z to extrude it up on the Z axis. And I'm just going to bring that up and just click to place it right there. So we've now brought up a face right there. Now I want to fill the faces, and I want to fill a face right there to kind of flatten this all out. But I want to make this face right here perfectly straight and flat. So I want to make these vertices the same height as these vertices right here. So to do this, I'm going to first select this vertex, hold down the shift key and select this vertex. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the shift and S button. I want to move my mouse down to cursor to selected and then let go of the shift and S button. And what this is going to do is going to bring this 3D cursor into the very center of this selection. So now what I want to do is click on this vertex, hold down the shift key and select this vertex. So if I press 3 on the numpad to go to side view and hold down the Z button and go to wireframe, I can see that here are these vertices that I've selected, but I want them to be the exact same height as these vertices right here. So I can actually scale these vertices down by the 3D cursor. So to do this, I'm going to click right here on the transform pivot point, and I'm going to change this to the 3D cursor. So I'm going to press S to scale, and you can see we're scaling it into the 3D cursor. Now I just want to scale it down, so I'm going to hit Z to scale it down on the Z axis, and I can just flatten it down. Now I want to make it fully flat, so I can type in 0 and then enter. So now if I press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, I can see that these vertices right here are flat and aligned with these vertices right here. So now what I can do is hold down the Z button, go back to solid view. I can select this vertex, hold down the shift key and select all of these other vertices right here. So we have all these 4 vertices selected, and then I can press the F key and that's going to fill a face. And then I can also select this vertex, hold down the shift key, select this vertex, and shift select these 2 vertices as well. And then I can press the F key and that is going to fill a face. And then also I want to click right back here on the transform pivot point, and I want to change this back to the median point, which is the default. And I can press the tab key to go back to object mode. So you can now see that we have filled that little hole in there. So let's press Ctrl S to save the Blender file. Alright, now back inside here, I want to add some little sci-fi details. So I'm going to press the tab key to go back into edit mode, and then I can click right here to go to the face select. I'm now going to select this top face right here, and I'm going to press Shift D. Shift D will duplicate this, and let's bring it down, and then I can also press S to scale, and we're going to scale this down a bit. And then let's also press S to scale, and we're going to scale this on the Y-axis and make it a bit longer. And then I can press G to grab, and we're going to bring it over a little bit. And I will bring it up. All right, so I can now press E to extrude. We're going to extrude this up and just kind of stick it in there. And then I need to recalculate the normals again. I can just tell because of the matte cap, it kind of looks a little bit different. So I'm going to double tap the A key to select everything. And then I can press Shift N, and that will recalculate the normals. And now you can see the shading looks correct. Now I want this sharp piece right here to be beveled and round. So I'm going to click right here to go to the edge select mode. You can also press the 2 on the top of your keyboard, and I can just select that edge right there. Then I'm going to press Control B. Control B is going to add a bevel, and I'm going to scroll out maybe like 2 more times so it's a bit more smooth, and just kind of bring it up and then place it right about there. And then I can press tab to go back to object mode. Let's press Control S again to save. So let's press the tab key to go back into edit mode, and I'm going to press 3 on the top of my keyboard to go to the face select, and I'm going to select this face again. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate and then S to scale, and what I want to do is have some little kind of cubes or pieces that are kind of coming out here. So I don't want them to be connected with the mirror. So to bring this apart, I can just click on the clipping button to turn it off, and then I can press G to grab and kind of bring it away, and then I can just turn the clipping button back on. So now you can see that it is separate, and we don't want to push it together, we just want to keep it separate. So I'll press S to scale and G to grab. Let's also press S to scale it on the x-axis, make it smaller, and just kind of bring it up there. And then I can press E to extrude, and let's extrude this up, just stick it in there. Let's also select this bottom face and press G and then Z and bring it up on the Z axis and make that a bit smaller. All right, and then double tap the A key to select everything, and again I can press Shift N to recalculate the normals. And then I'm going to press the A key to deselect everything. Now I want to bring this all back a little bit, so I'm going to hover my mouse over these objects and press L and L. That's going to select the linked vertices, so it's going to select the vertices which are connected. I can press G to grab, and let's bring this back there, just like that. And then I'm just going to select one of these faces, and then again press the L key, that's going to select the linked vertices. And then I'll press S to scale this up a little bit more, G to grab, and we're just going to stick it kind of right in there, just like that. All right, that's pretty good. All right, and then back in edit mode, just make sure you have this selected. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate, and then S to scale. Let's also scale this down on the x-axis a bit, and then I want to kind of bring it over here. And then I want to rotate it over, so I'm going to press R to rotate. Let's rotate it on the x-axis, and then I want to rotate it over exactly by 90 degrees, so I can type in 90, and then I can hit Enter. Let's press S to scale it down a little bit, and then G to grab, and let's just stick it right up there and kind of bring it back a little bit. Just kind of stick it in there. All right, tab to go back to object mode, so that's looking pretty good. So then right here, we are going to be adding a piece for the neck, but we will do that in the next part of the tutorial. All right, so let's navigate right over here, kind of to the front of the face, but still working on the bottom. And then I'm going to press tab to go into edit mode. So what I'm going to do is select this face and then hold down the shift key and select this face. And I want to inset them and then extrude them back. So first I'm going to press the I key. The I key is going to inset them, and I'm going to make them smaller, just make it about that big, and then place that there. Then I can press E, and E is going to extrude it, and I'm going to extrude it back into the head, just like that, and place it right about there. And I think I'll press G and Z and just bring them up a little bit more. All right, so now I want to add some little details in here. So what I'm going to be adding is some cylinders, and they're going to go back and forth. So I'm going to do this in the edit mode of this object. So I'm going to press Shift A, and you can see because we're in edit mode, we're only able to add meshes. So I'm going to add a cylinder. And we add the cylinder, it's kind of in between the other cylinder, it's kind of overlapping. So I need to turn off the clipping, because if I keep the clipping on and press G to grab and kind of pull this away, it's going to kind of stretch in the center. So I need to turn off the clipping button, press G to grab, and then S to scale, make this smaller, and then I can turn back on the clipping now that they're not overlapping. And then I'm going to press the period on the numpad, and that's going to zoom me over to the cylinder. So I can select this face, and then I can press X, and we're going to delete the faces, and then navigate up here, select this face, and press X to delete, and we're going to delete the faces. Because we don't need those faces, we're not going to see them. And then hover your mouse over this object and press L, that will select the linked vertices. I can press G to grab, and S to scale, and we're just going to kind of bring this in. All right, so I now want to rotate this over. So I'm going to press R to rotate. Let's rotate this on the Y axis, and then I can type in 90 and enter, and that's going to rotate it exactly over by 90 degrees. And then I can scale this down a little bit more, make it a bit smaller, and I can press G and Z, and we're going to bring that up. Just kind of bring it up to the top, right about there. So I now want to scale this out, so I'm going to press S to scale. Let's hit X to scale on the x-axis and just bring it in there and then place it right there. Let's press the tab key to go back to object mode, and then using the object context menu, I can just shade this smooth. All right, so now that that is shaded smooth, that cylinder looks smooth there, it's not blocky. All right, so that's pretty good. Let's press the tab key to go back into edit mode, and then I can press G to grab, click and hold with my mouse wheel, and I'm going to just bring that over there. So I want to have two more cylinders over here. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate, and then click with your mouse wheel to constrain it to the Y axis and let go. And I want to stick it right about there. And then I want to have one more. So I'll press Shift D to duplicate, click and hold with my mouse wheel, and then let go to constrain it to the Y axis. And I'm going to stick this one right about there. All right, so I can press tab to go back to object mode. All right, so I now want to add some details right here to this front front bevel on the front of the robot's face. So I'll press the Tab key again to go into edit mode. Let's press Ctrl S to save the project. So I'm going to select this face right here, and then I'm going to press the I key, and the I key is going to inset the face, and I'm just going to make it a bit smaller to about there. All right, then I'm going to kind of navigate over here to the side, and I can press E to extrude, and let's just extrude this out. So we're just going to have some little cubes kind of coming out. All right, that's pretty good. And then I'm going to select this face right here, and this face we are going to inset it and then extrude it in. So I'm going to press the I key, and the I key is going to inset this, but you can see it's not actually connecting with the mirror modifier. So after I hit the I key, I can then press the B key. And you can see right here, right up here, it says boundary off. If I press the B key, now it says boundary on. So after you press I, if you press the B key, that is going to toggle between the boundary being on and off. And I want the boundary to be off so that it's connecting with the mirror modifier right in there in the center of the face. And I can just click to place that about there. And then I want to extrude this back in. So I'm going to press E to extrude, and let's extrude this back just like that. Let's now do some more sci-fi details on the side of the head. So I'm going to select this face, hold down the Shift key and select this face. And then I'm going to move right over here to the front, and I want to duplicate them and bring them out. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate, and then click and hold and let go with your mouse wheel with the middle mouse button to constrain it to the X-axis. And I'm just going to stick these right about there. Now I want to get rid of this loop cut in here because you can see there's a loop right there. So what I'm going to do is click right here to go to the edge select, and then I can select this edge. Then I'm going to press the X key, and I want to go right down here and click on dissolve edges. And if I click on that, now you can see this is just all one big face, so it's dissolved that edge in the center. So I can now press the 3 on the top of my keyboard to go to the face select. I can just select this face, and then I'm going to press 3 on the numpad. That's going to go to side view, and then I'm going to hold down the Z button, move over to wireframe, and let go of the Z button so that we can see the reference behind it. So I can now press S to scale. Let's scale this down, and G to grab, and I'm just going to fit this to that little sci-fi thing which is right there on the side of the robot's head. So press G to grab and then S to scale, and just kind of fit it right in there. And we're going to add those bevels in a moment, but mainly just kind of fit that and get the shape right. Alright, so just click and hold with your mouse wheel. I'm going to move over here. Let's also press 1 on the numpad to go to the front view. I can press G to grab, click with your mouse wheel, constrain it to the X-axis, and stick it there. So I can now press E to extrude. We're going to extrude this back into the face just like that. Alright, hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view. You can see what we've created. So I now want to select this face, and then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to the side view again. And then I can hold down the Z button and go back to the wireframe. So I now want to inset this face, and then I want to extrude it back. So I'm going to press the I key, and that's going to inset the face, and I'm going to scale it down and just make it fit the reference. And then I'm going to hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and I can click with my middle mouse wheel and just kind of move over to the side. So I can now press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude this face right back in there, and then just place it right about there. And then right inside here, you can't really see the face, but we don't really need it. So I can just press X to delete, and we can delete the faces. So now that extra face in there is deleted. And if you wanted to, you could go in here, select this face, and press X, and just delete the faces. All right, now you can see the normals need to be flipped again because you can see the shading looks a bit weird. This face, which is pointed this way, is lighter, but then this face is darker. So I can double tap the A key to select everything, and then I can press Shift N. Shift N will recalculate the normals. And I'll press the A key to deselect everything. Now, if you press 3 on the numpad to go to side view and hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe, if I zoom in here, you can see this is beveled, and then also this is beveled as well. So I want to bevel those edges. So to bevel them, I'm going to press 1 on the top of my keyboard, or click right here to go to the vertex select, and then I want to select this loop. So I'm going to just navigate up here so you can see what I'm doing. So to select this entire loop, I'm going to hold down the Alt key and then just select the loop. And you can see it's going to go all the way around and select that entire loop. All right, so I can now press 3 on the numpad to go to the side view. So I just want to bevel this loop now. So to bevel it, I can press Control B. Control B is going to bevel it. And then I want to scroll my mouse wheel until there's about 5. So there we go, 1 in the middle and then 2 on each side. So there's 5, and then just bring it up to the right size and place it there. All right, that's looking good. So I'll do the same thing over here. So I'll press A to deselect everything, hold down the Alt key and just select that ring of vertices. That looks good. press 3 on the numpad for the side view again. I can zoom in here, and then I can press Control B. Control B will add that bevel, and just make that bevel as big as you need it. Hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and you can see what we've made. Alright, so now I want to add some little metal pieces which are right in here, which are going kind of right here, and then kind of ending over here. So to do this, again, I'm going to be in edit mode. So I'm going to press Shift A, and let's go right here, and we're going to add a cube. And then because the cube is overlapping, we need to turn off the clipping. So just check mark the clipping. Then I can press S to scale that down, G to grab, we're going to bring it over, and then S to scale and make it even smaller, and just stick it right there. And then I can scale it down even more, and let's press the 3 on the numpad to go to side view. I can hold down the Z button, go into wireframe, and let go. So I can press G to grab, let's bring this over, and also scale it to the size of the reference, and then bring it over, and we're just going to stick it right in there. So I can press A to deselect everything. Let's press B for the box select. I'm just going to drag a box around those vertices. I'll press G to grab, click and hold with my mouse wheel, and I'm going to bring it over, and then I'm just going to place it right there. All right, so now there is a bit of a bevel there, so I'm going to hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and then I'm going to click right here to go to the face select, and I can just select this face, and then hold down the Z button, and let's go back to the wireframe. So I want to just scale this front face down to make it look like there's kind of a bevel. So I'll press S to scale. Let's scale it on the Z axis, and I'm going to make it pretty small and just kind of stick it right there and then place it. So I can hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and that's looking pretty good. So I now want to select the entire thing and kind of squish it down because it's a little bit long. So hover your mouse over this object, and I'm going to press the L button, and that's going to select the linked vertices. I can press G to grab. And let's bring this out on the y-axis, actually the x-axis, bring it out on the x-axis. And you can see it's pretty long. So I'm going to scale it now. So hit S to scale, and let's scale it on the x-axis. And we're just going to make that much smaller. Something like that is pretty good. Then I can press G to grab. Let's bring it back on the x-axis and just stick it right there and just put it right up against the head. So just like that. And then I can press 3 on the numpad. That's going to go to the side view, and then hold down the Z button. Let's go into the wireframe, and I'll just zoom in, and I can press Shift D to duplicate. Let's bring it up on the Z axis. So now I want to scale it and kind of make it longer, so I can actually just select these vertices and kind of bring them out. So I'm going to go right back over here to the vertex select. I can press A to deselect everything, and then I can press B for the box select. Just drag a box around those vertices, and then I can press G to grab, and let's bring this back on the Y axis, and we're just going to stick it right there. All right, that's good. So it fits the reference. Let's hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view. That's looking pretty good. I can tab back to object mode, and let's press Control S to save. Alright, now I also want to add another cube right here to give some more sci-fi details. So I'm going to press the tab key to go back into edit mode, and let's press Shift A, and again I'm going to add a cube. And then I left the clipping turned off, so let's press S to scale and G to grab. Let's just bring this over and scale this down, and then I can turn the clipping back on. And then I can scale this down even more, and I'll press G to grab and bring this over. Let's also press 3 on the numpad for side view, and I'm going to hold down the Z button, go into the wireframe, and I can just match this to the reference. I'm also going to press the 1 on the numpad for front view, and I can match this to the reference as well just by bringing that over. Alright, I can hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and I now want to add another little detail right here. So I'm going to press 3 on the top of my keyboard to go to the face select. I can just select this face, and then I'm going to press I to inset the face, scale that down, maybe about that big. Then I'll press S to scale. Let's scale this on the y-axis, make it thinner, and then I can press G to grab, bring it over on the y-axis, and just stick it there. And then I can navigate over here to the side. I'll press E to extrude, let's bring this out, and then I can scale this down, so hit S to scale, and let's scale this down on the Z-axis and just place it there. And then I can tab to go back to object mode, and we can just shade this smooth with the object context menu. And then I think this bevel is actually a little bit too big, so on this bevel modifier, I'm going to change this amount down to like a 0.003 instead. That's better, maybe even just like a 0.002. I think that looks better. I just want it to be a pretty small bevel. Now underneath this cube, I want to have a little pipe which is going down here, and then it kind of turns at a 90-degree angle and then goes into this metal piece. So to do this, I'm going to make sure I'm in object mode because I want to add a new object. So I'm now going to hold down the Shift and S button, move my mouse to cursor to world origin, and then let go. That's going to make sure the 3D cursor goes right there in the center. So I can now press Shift A, and I'm going to go right here and add a new plane. And then I'm going to press the Tab key to go into edit mode. So now what I want to do is go right here to the vertex select, and I'm just going to select one of the vertices. Then I'm going to press X to delete, and we just want to delete the vertices. So now you can see if I press the A key to select them, we just have 3 vertices. So I'm now going to navigate right over here back to this corner, and then I want to add a bevel to kind of smooth this out to make the shape of the pipe. So I'm going to press Control Shift B, because if you just press Control B, that's not going to work on a single vertex. So I'm going to press Control Z to undo that. To make a bevel on a single vertex like this, I need to press Control Shift B. So press Control Shift B, and then I'm going to bring this out, and I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel and make it a bit more subdivided, maybe just something like that. And then I'm going to bring this out so that the ends are where those lines are. So you can see there's a red line there, that is the x-axis, and then there's a line there, and that's the y-axis. So I'm just going to scale this up till those vertices connect to that and then place it there. All right, so now you can see this is right there on that line, and this is right there on that line. All right, that's pretty good. So let's press the Tab key to go back to object mode, and you can see we now have this nice round pipe. Of course, right now it doesn't have any thickness, it's not a circle, and so we actually want to make it kind of like a cylinder, so it's like a tube. So to do this, I'm going to convert this to a curve object. So just make sure this object is still selected. Let's press Control S again to save, and then I'm going to click on Object, and let's go right down here to Convert, and then I want to click on Curve. So now if I press Tab to go into edit mode, you can see this is now a curve object. So I can tab to go back to object mode. So because this is a curve object, we can now give it some thickness. So let's click right here on the object data properties, and then I'm going to open up the geometry tab right here. And I'm going to scroll down, and you can see right here there is a depth value. So if I turn up the depth value, you can see that it now is looking like a circular pipe or tube. And I am going to change the depth value to a specific value of 0.4. I think 0.4 looks pretty good. And then I also want to turn the resolution up a little bit. So right here on the resolution, I can change this. That's going to change the resolution. I'm just going to change the resolution to like a 6, so it's a bit more smooth. And then using the object context menu, I can shade the object smooth. All right, now I want to convert it back to a mesh because then I want to add it into this object. And this object is a mesh object, but this object is still a curve object. So I need to convert it back to a mesh. So with this object selected, I'm going to click on object, and then I'm going to go right down here to convert, and I'm going to click on mesh. So now if I press tab to go into edit mode, you can see this is actual geometry now. So back in object mode, I'm going to select this object and then hold down the shift key and select this object last. And this object is selected last because it has the yellow outline, whereas this one here has an orange outline. So to join the objects together, I can press Ctrl J. And now you can see that it's joined together. And so because we joined this object into this object, now it is actually using the modifiers from this object, from the head object. So I want to turn the clipping off because you can see it is overlapping. So let's turn the clipping off. And then with my mouse hovered over this object, I can press the L key. That's going to select the linked vertices. And then you can see this part is still selected, so I just need to press A to deselect everything. Then I can hover my mouse over this object and press L, and then I can press S to scale and G to grab. And G to grab. We're just going to bring this over and scale it way down. Then I can press the period on the numpad to zoom over to it. And then I can scale it even more down and kind of stick it right here. And then let's also rotate this. So I'm going to press R to rotate. Let's rotate this on the Y axis. And then I can type in 9, 0 and enter just to rotate that over. Let's also press the 3 on the numpad to go to the side view. And I can hold down the Z button and go over into the wireframe. And you can see there's that tube there. So I want to rotate it over by 180 degrees because I want to rotate it over like this. So I'm going to press R to rotate, and then I can type in 180 for 180 degrees and then hit enter. and then I can press G to grab, kind of match it up to the reference, and press S to scale, and kind of scale it up and just kind of stick it right in there. All right, that's really good. Hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view. That's pretty good. Let's also press 1 on the numpad to go to the front view. I can hold down the Z button, go to wireframe, and I can press G to grab, click with my mouse wheel, constrain it to the x-axis, and just stick it right there and match it up with the reference. And then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, and if I navigate over here, you can see there is another tube. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to bring this over here. Then I can press R to rotate, and I can type in 90, and that's going to rotate it over by 90 degrees. But instead of it rotating clockwise, I want it to rotate counterclockwise. So after I type in 90, I can just hit negative. That way it's going to be -90. You can see right there, up there in the corner, it says -90, and then I can hit enter, and so that is rotated correctly. So I can now press S to scale. Let's just scale this up, and G to grab, and just make it fit the reference just like that. I can hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and you can see this is too far out. So I need to press G to grab, click with my mouse wheel, constrain it to the x-axis, and I'm just going to stick this right in there and just place it right there. All right, that is very good. So let's press Control S again to save the Blender file. Now, while we're working with these tubes, I also want to add like some piping on the top of the robot's head. So let's do that. So I'm going to press 3 on the numpad for the side view, and you can see there's some tubes right up there. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate. Let's duplicate this. Then I can press R to rotate, and I can type in -90 and enter to rotate it counterclockwise, so back this way. Then I can press S to scale and G to grab. We're going to bring this down, just kind of match it to the reference. You can also hold down the Z button and go into wireframe if you need to. And then I can press 7 on the numpad. That's going to go to the top view. I can press G to grab, click and hold with my mouse wheel, constrain it to the x-axis, bring that over, and I think I'll scale it down just a little bit. And then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. Now I want to duplicate this pipe, and I want to flip it so that it's pointing the other way. So I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate, click with my mouse wheel and let go, bring it over here. And then to flip it around, I could like rotate it on the Z-axis and just rotate that around, but I could also press S to scale, and then I want to scale it on the Y-axis. So hit Y, and then I can type in -1 and enter. And that is basically going to flip it inside out or reverse it. So now it is the opposite way around. And then I want to connect these together. I want to connect the pipes together. So let's press the A key to deselect everything. And then I can press B for the box select. I'm just going to drag a box around all of these vertices. I can press the period on the numpad to zoom into them. So I can also hold down the Z button and go back into the solid view just to preview what this is doing. All right, so I now want to join these together. So a really easy way to join these together is to bridge the edge loops, because we have an edge loop here, and then we have another edge loop here, and they both have the same amount of vertices. So to use the bridge edge loops, I can press the F3, and the F3 is going to bring up the search. Then I can search for bridge, and I can hit the bridge edge loops. The other way to do it is just by pressing Control E. So press Control E, and then you can see right here, it's the third one, the bridge edge loops. And so that is going to bridge it together. It's basically going to fill faces in between them. Now we need to recalculate the normals. You can see there's some weird shading issues. So let's just double tap the A key to select everything, and then I can press Shift N, and that will recalculate the normals. And the normals needed to be recalculated because we flipped that object inside out, but it's really easy just to recalculate. All right, now we actually don't need these vertices in here. We don't actually need these loops because we have loops here and we also have loops here. So just to make the object have a little bit less topology, we can actually delete these loops. You can keep them if you want to, but I just want to delete them. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and just select that loop right there. So just Alt select that loop, and then I can press the X key to delete. And I want to click on Dissolve Edges, and that's just going to get rid of the loop. And then I can hold down the Alt key and select that loop of vertices again. Let's press X to delete, and again I can dissolve the edges. All right, that's very good. So I can press 3 on the numpad for side view, hold down the Z button, go into wireframe, and just make sure that looks good. All right, so I now want to duplicate it and move it over. So let's press the A key a few times just to make sure everything is deselected, and then just hover your mouse over this object, and I can press the L key. So I can now press Shift D to duplicate, click and hold with your mouse wheel to constrain it to the y-axis, bring it over, and then just place it right there. And then I can press the B for the box select, and I just want to deselect all of this side. So to deselect, I can click with my middle mouse wheel and then drag out, and then drag a box, and then let go of the middle mouse button. That way it's going to deselect instead of select. So I can now press G to grab, click and let go with the middle mouse wheel, bring it right there, and then just click to place that. And then I also want to add a few more pipes going back and forth. So let's press 7 on the numpad to go to the top view. I can press Shift D to duplicate. Let's bring this over. And then I can press R to rotate, and I can type in 9, 0, and then I actually need to type in negative. So it's rotated over by -90, and then enter. Let's bring this over, just match it up to the reference. And then I can hold down the Alt key and just select that ring of vertices. Then I can press E to extrude, and I'm going to click with my mouse wheel, bring it over, and you can see the clipping is still turned off so it can go through the mirror. So I'm just going to bring it too far, bring it over here, and then I'm going to turn the clipping back on. So I can now press G to grab, click with your mouse wheel to constrain it to the x-axis, and I can just shove these vertices into the mirror and then just click to place that there. Alright, so then I can just hover my mouse over this object and press L. That's going to select the linked vertices, and I can press Shift D to duplicate, click with your mouse wheel and bring it down on the y-axis and just stick it right there. So I can hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and you can see what we've made. So I can tab back into object mode, and we just have some little pipes there on top of the robot. Let's press Ctrl S again to save. Now I also want to inset some faces and extrude them down on the top of the head. So I'm going to select the face, and let's tab back into edit mode. Now I want to add a loop cut right here, right in the very center here, kind of towards the front of the head. So I'm going to press Ctrl R to add a loop cut, and I can left click and then right click and just drop it there. Alright, so now I want to inset each one of these faces, and then I can extrude them back. So I'm first going to select this face right here, and then I can press the I key, and that is going to inset that face. Now I want the face to be connected with the mirror, so I can press the B key, and that is going to toggle between the boundary being on and the boundary being off. Now there is one thing that might happen. If you press the I key again after you press it once, that is going to toggle between the individual being on and off. And so if the individual is turned on, then if you press the B key, you can see that the boundary isn't actually going to change anything. So just to show you what I mean, I'm going to click to place that there, and then I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo this. You don't have to follow along with this, but I do want to explain what's happening. So I'm now going to hold down the Shift key and select both of these faces, and these faces are next to each other. So I'm now going to press the I key to inset, and that is going to inset both of the faces at the same time. But if I now press the I key again, that is going to switch between the individual being turned off and turned on. You can see right up here it says individual off and individual turned on. So you want to press the I key to make sure the individual is turned off. Then you can press the B key, and that is going to toggle between the boundary being on or off. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo this. So just select this single face, and then I'm going to press 7 on the numpad to go to top view, and I can hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe. So I can now press the I key to inset this. I'm going to bring this down, match it to the reference, and place it there. So I can now hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and I can just select this face right here, hold down the Z button, go to wireframe, and I can press I to inset that face, scale it down, place it there, and then I can hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and I want to select this one. I can hold down the Z button, go back into the wireframe again, and then I can press the I key to inset that face, and I'm going to bring this down, and again just match it up to the reference. Alright, so I can hold down the Z button and go back into the solid view. So now we've insetted each one of these faces, and so I just want to extrude them back inside the head now. So I'm going to select this face, and then hold down the Shift key and select these other faces. I can now press the E key, and the E key is going to extrude the faces, and I just want to bring these down about that far, and then I can click to place that right there. So I now want to create the eyes for the robot. So I'm going to hold down the Shift and S button. Let's go to cursor to world origin, let go of the Shift and S button just to put the 3D cursor right here, and then I can press Shift A, and for the eyes I'm going to start off by adding a circle. And then it's overlapping with the mirror, so again I need to uncheck the clipping, G to grab, bring it over, scale it down, and then I can turn back on the clipping. So I can now press the 1 on the numpad to go to front view. I can hold down the Z button, go into the wireframe, and then I can scale this down even more, scale it down pretty small, and press G to grab. Let's bring this up here. And then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. I can kind of zoom in here, and I'll press G to grab, bring this over. And then I can press R to rotate, and I want to rotate it exactly over by 90 degrees. So I can type in 9, 0, and then enter. And then I can press G to grab, bring it into the eye there, and then press S to scale and just scale that up. And then I can press the 1 on the numpad to go to front view, and let's zoom in here and just press G to grab and just match it up with the reference. All right, so I'm now going to press the 1 on the top of my keyboard to go to the vertex select. And I'm going to press E to extrude, but then immediately after that, I'm going to press S to scale. And that way it's going to scale this down. And then to show you what I'm doing, I'm going to hold down the Z button and go back into the solid view so you can kind of see what this is doing. So I'm going to press E to extrude. We're going to extrude this, but then I just want to give it some thickness. So after you press E to extrude, you can press S to scale, and I can scale this down. So I'm going to scale it down and place it there. And then I can press 1 on the numpad to go to front view. I can hold down the Z button, go back into the wireframe, and I just want to scale this so that it is matching the reference there. All right, so I can now hover my mouse over this object and press L. That'll select the linked vertices, and I can press 3 on the numpad for side view. So I can now press E to extrude. Let's just extrude this back, and then I can click with my middle mouse button to zoom over here. And then I don't want any faces right in there. So with this still selected, I'm going to hold down the Z button, go back into solid view. You can see I just want to delete those faces back there. So I'm going to press X to delete, and then let's delete the faces. All right, so then right in here, I actually want to fill a face in there. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and select that loop of vertices. And then I can press the F key, and that is going to fill a face. And then I also want to hold down the Alt key and just select that ring of vertices. And I can again press 1 on the numpad for front view. I can hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe. So I can now press E to extrude, and then I can press S to scale. And we're going to scale this bigger, and again, just match it up with the reference. So matched up with that outer edge. Place it there. Then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to the side view, and I can press E to extrude, and then you can just click with your mouse wheel to constrain it to the Y-axis and just stick it there inside the head. All right, hold down the Z button, go back into solid view. You can see what this is doing. And again, the shading is a bit weird. That's because we need to recalculate the normals. So press the A key to select everything, and I can press Shift N to recalculate the normals. And then I can press the Tab key to go back into object mode. And you can see that looks kind of sharp there on the edges, and that's because I just need to use the object context menu and shade the object smooth. All right, so now we have kind of like the eye sockets. And then let's press Control S again to save the file. Now I want to add some little bits coming up here from the eye sockets, and I want to have 3 of them, one here, and then one over here. So let's press the Tab key to go back into edit mode. And then I'm going to go right up here and go to the face select mode. So I'm now going to select this face and then hold down the Shift key and select this face, and then hold down the Shift key and select all of these faces. So we have 4 faces selected, and these are the very top ones. So I'm now going to go to the side, and this one is the one right in the middle. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select all of these ones here. So the 4 ones in the middle there. And then let's go to the bottom. Here's the one in the bottom. So hold down the Shift key. We're going to select all of these 4. Now I want to extrude these faces up by the way that they are pointing. So to do this, I can extrude them by their normals. So to do this, I'm going to press Control F, just press Control F, and then I'm going to click on Extrude Faces along normals. And then I can just drag my mouse and you can see that it's extruding that up by the normals. So I'll just bring it to about there and then click to place it. You could also follow the reference a little bit better. So I'm going to press Control Z to undo this, and then I can press the 1 on the numpad to go to front view. I can hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe. Then again, I can press Control F, we can extrude the faces along the normals and just bring them up to fit the reference and then place that right there. Now, if you zoom in here, you can see that these aren't going sideways like this, they're just going straight up. And so I just want to scale them down so they're not going out to the side. So I'm going to hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and I'm going to start by just selecting these. So I'm going to select this face, hold down the shift key, select these faces, and then I can press S to scale. Let's just scale them on the X-axis and just bring them in there. You can also press 1 on the numpad to go to front view, S to scale, scale it on the X-axis, and just make those so that they're about straight. And I don't mind just eyeballing it. Eyeballing it is good enough. That looks pretty straight and you're not really going to notice if it's slightly off. So I'm going to select this face, hold down the shift key, select these faces. I can press 1 on the numpad to go to the front view. I'll press S to scale, and I can hit X to scale it on the X-axis and just make those flat. So right about like that. And then I'll do the same thing here. So select this face, hold down the shift key, select these other faces. I can press 1 on the numpad for front view, S to scale, but this one is going up and down. So I'm going to scale this one by the Z axis and just scale that to about there. So I now actually want to add the eyes here in the eye sockets. So I'm going to press Shift A, and we are going to add a UV sphere. And then again, we need to click on the clipping button to turn it off, and that way I can press G to grab, bring this out, S to scale, we'll scale it down, and then I can click on this to turn the clipping back on. So I can now press 3 on the numpad, that's going to go to side view. I can zoom in here, and I can press G to grab, and then S to scale, and let's bring this over here, just fit it to the reference. I can also press R to rotate, and then I can type 9, 0, and enter just to rotate that by 90 degrees. I'm going to hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe view, and I'll just scale this up and just stick it there where the eye is. I can also press 1 on the numpad for front view, and you can see it's actually way over here. So I'm going to press G to grab, click with the middle mouse button and let go when it's constrained to the X-axis, and just bring that in there to the very center. All right, and then just align that if you need to. Let's go to the top view by pressing 7 on the numpad for top view and make sure that looks good. All right, hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, tap back into object mode, and that is looking very good. So in object mode, using the object context menu, I can just shade this object smooth. So I now want to add some little plates here on the front of the face. So I'm going to press the tab key to go into edit mode, and then just make sure you are in the face select mode. You can click right here or press the 3 on the top of your keyboard. So I'm going to select this face, and then I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate this and bring it out. And then I can press S to scale, we'll scale that down. And then let's press 1 on the numpad to go to front view, and I can hold down the Z button and move to wireframe. So I can press G to grab, and we're going to bring this down here and just match it up to that little plate that's right there on the front of the robot. And then I can press the 2 on the top of my keyboard or click right here to go to the edge select, and then I can just select this edge. Oh, and just make sure you get that right one selected, so make sure it is that edge there from that new plane that we've added. So I'll press 1 on the numpad for front view. I can press G to grab, and I can bring this up on the Z axis and just stick it right there. All right, I can hold the Z button down, go back into the solid view, and then let's press 3 on the top of your keyboard to go to the face select. I can just select this face, and I want to bring it in. So I'm going to press G to grab, and then let's hit Y to bring it in on the Y axis and just bring it pretty close. So probably just to about there. So if you zoom in here, the plane is going to be about halfway between this lip here and the robot's head. So I'm going to press G to grab and bring it in on the Y axis a little bit more. All right, now I want to give it some thickness. So I'll press E to extrude, E to extrude, let's extrude this back there like that. And then you can see it's very dark. So I just need to press the L key with my mouse hovered over the object to select all of it. And then I can press Shift N to recalculate the normals. All right, that's pretty good. And then I want to add one more plate up here. So let's press the 1 on the numpad to go to the front view. I can hold down the Z button, go into wireframe, and then I want to duplicate this and move it up. So I can press Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to bring this up and just fit it to the reference. So just bring that out a bit and place it there. All right, then I can go right here to the vertex select, and then I want to deselect these vertices because they're right where I want them. So I'm going to press B for the box select. I can click with my middle mouse wheel and drag and then let go. That's going to deselect it. And then I can press G to grab, bring it down on the Z axis and just stick it right there. and then I can press B for the box select, and again I'm going to click with my middle mouse wheel and just drag around there, drag a box around those vertices and let go. That's going to deselect it, so now we just have those vertices selected. And then I want to add a bevel there. You can see there's kind of a bevel there. So I can just press Control B to add a bevel, and then I want it to be a very straight bevel. So after you press Control B, you can just scroll with your mouse wheel, and that's going to make there be less cuts. And then I can just fit that to the reference and place it right about there. Alright, hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and that's looking very good. So I now want to add some bolts, and I want to put those bolts all around the face and the head to give it some more detail. So I'm going to press the Tab key again to go into edit mode, and then I'll press the A key to deselect everything. So I'm now going to press Shift A, and let's go right here, and I'm going to add a circle. Now when you add the circle, don't move it or anything. Right when you add the circle, you can see there's this add circle setting. It's in the corner. Just click on the arrow to open it up. So because this is going to be a small bolt, I don't want it to have this many vertices because that's kind of high. So I'm going to change it instead from 32 to just like 12. And then I can close this. All right, so I now want to turn off the clipping again because it's in the very center. I can press G to grab and S to scale, and then I can just turn the clipping back on, and I'll press the period on the numpad to zoom into it. So I now want to press E to extrude, and then I'll hit Z to bring it up on the Z axis, and bring it up maybe to about that far, maybe a little bit farther. And then I'm going to press the F key to fill a face. I'm going to tab to go back to object mode, and then using the object context menu, I can shade this smooth. Now you can see there's a problem here and there. There's a few bevels which are added on the side, and I don't want that. I want it to look smooth. And that is because of this angle limit. So if we turn this angle limit up on the bevel, then it will make that smooth. So all I need to do is turn it up a little bit. So on the angle, I'm just going to turn it up to like a 31 instead. And now you can see that bolt is very smooth, but there shouldn't be any issues. I have never seen any issues with the rest of the modeling, just turning that up to a value of 31. So I'm going to tab to go back into edit mode, and let's double tap the A key to select everything. And again, I can press Shift N. That will recalculate the normals. So I now want to place the bolts all around. So I'm just going to press the A key to deselect everything. I can press the L key with my mouse hovered over this little bolt or this little screw. That's going to select the linked vertices. And I can press S to scale and G to grab. Let's also press 3 on the numpad for side view because I want to get the correct size. Let's hold down the Z button, go into wireframe, and then I can press G to grab, and we're just going to bring this up here and just bring it over to one of these bolts, and then I can press S to scale, G to grab, and then I want to rotate this bolt over, so let's press R to rotate. I can rotate it on the Y-axis, and then I can type 9, 0, and enter, just to rotate it over by 90 degrees. Hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, that looks good, and then I can press G to grab, bring it back on the X-axis, and just stick it right in here. Place it there, I can press the period on the numpad to zoom into it. Now, we could just manually place all the bolts, but it's much easier to use Blender's snapping feature to snap the bolts to the surface. So what I'm going to do is click on this button right here. That is going to turn on the snapping. And then I need to tell it what I want the selection to snap to. So to do that, I'm going to click on this right here, and that's going to go to the snap settings. And I want to snap it to face. So on default, it's set to increment. And this way, if I press G to grab, you can see it's going to move along the 3D grid. I'm going to press escape to undo that. Instead of snapping it along the increments or the 3D grid, I want to instead change it to face. So change it to face. And now if I press G to grab, you can see it's going to snap to any face. So it's snapping here or it's snapping down there. I'm going to press Control Z to undo that. Now there is one problem. If I press G to grab, sometimes there's a problem like this where it's actually not really coming through. So let me just press Control Z to undo that. So I want to click right up here to go to the settings, and then I want to go to the snap width, and instead of choosing the closest, I want to instead choose the center. And this is going to work much better. So now if I press Shift D to duplicate this and bring it over, you can see we're not having that issue, and that looks really good. Now let's say I want to bring it over here here to the side. You can see it's not actually rotating around with that face. So to fix this, I can click on this button right here again to go to the snap settings, and I can do the align rotation to target. This way, if you turn this on, it's going to rotate this to the face that it's snapping to. So I can press G to grab. You can see it rotates to this face, but then if I move it along here, it's going to rotate around, and now it's snapping to this face. So this is super useful, and it's going to rotate to whatever face we have it snapped to. So now I can just put the bolts all around. So I'm going to press G to grab, and I'm going to stick this bolt right down here, kind of bring it down a little bit. Now to duplicate your selection, you can press Shift D. Shift D will duplicate the selection, and I'm going to stick this bolt right up here in that corner. All right, then I can navigate over here. Let's press Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to bring another bolt kind of right over here, just stick it right there in that corner. And then I can press Shift D to duplicate again. Let's put another bolt here. Let's press Control S to save the Blender file. And then I can press Shift D again to duplicate. Let's stick another bolt right there. And then I'm also going to navigate over here. I'll press Shift D to duplicate, and I want to put another bolt kind of right here, kind of right there where that loop cut is. And then I'll press Shift D to duplicate, stick another one there. And then Shift D to duplicate, we'll put another one right about there. And then Shift D to duplicate, stick another one there. And of course, you can put these bolts wherever you like. I like putting them in the corners. I think that looks pretty cool, kind of having them in the corners here and there. You can also change the size of the bolts if you want to. I think that size is pretty good. Tab back into edit mode. Let's press 7 on the numpad to go to top view. I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate, drop it there. Shift D to duplicate, and we're going to drop another one there. And then Shift D to duplicate, put one there, and Shift D to duplicate, stick another one there. And let's navigate over here. We're going to do the same thing. So Shift D to duplicate, put one there, Shift D to duplicate, and stick another one there. And then I can navigate right over here, and I'll press Shift D to duplicate, and let's stick another one in that corner. And navigate down here, Shift D to duplicate again. We're going to stick another one right there as well. And then let's navigate to the front of the face, and I can press Shift D to duplicate. It's going to snap it and bring it over here, and I'm just going to stick this one just about there. And I'll press Shift D again, duplicate that, put one there, and Shift D to duplicate. We'll stick another one there as well. And then Shift D to duplicate. Let's press G to grab, and we're going to stick another one right down there in that corner. Now right over here on this part of the robot's head, this bevel here, it is pretty simple. There isn't really any details here, so I want to add some more details right here. So I'm going to go right here to the face select, and then I can just select this face. So I'm now going to press Shift D to duplicate, and actually I'm going to just click to place that there. Let's click on this button here to turn off the snapping, and then I can just kind of move over here. Let's also press the 1 on the numpad to go to the front view. I can press G to grab, and we're going to bring this up. Okay, so now I can press S to scale. We'll scale this down, and I'm basically just making a little metal plate. And then I can press S to scale. Let's scale this on the y-axis, and I'm going to make it a bit longer. Okay, scale it down a little bit. I can press G to grab. Let's bring this over on the y-axis, maybe stick it right about there, kind of in the center of those 4 bolts. And then I can press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude that back in there. All right, so now we have a little metal plate there. And then press the A key a few times to make sure everything is selected. And I can press Shift N to recalculate the normals. All right, and then right here, I want to kind of inset this in. So let's select this face, and I can press I to inset, and let's just bring this down, scale it down like that. And then I can press E to extrude, and we can just extrude that back in there, just kind of make a little hollow area right there. That's pretty good. All right, and then right over here, I want to have almost like some little batteries or something. They're kind of like some cylinders, which are just kind of stuck onto the side of the robot. So let's add that. So I'm going to press Shift A in edit mode. Make sure you're in edit mode of this object, press Shift A, and I'm going to add a cylinder. And then again, let's turn off the clipping, and I can press G to grab, bring it up, and S to scale it down, and then I can just turn the clipping back on. So I'm going to press 1 on the numpad. That's going to take me to front view, and I can just zoom in here. So I can actually delete half of the cylinder because we're only going to see 1/2 of it. So I can hold down the Z button, go into the wireframe, and then let's click right here to go to the vertical vertex select. So I can press A to deselect everything. I can press B for the box select. Just drag a box around these vertices. And then I can press X to delete, and we want to delete the vertices. Hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and that's looking pretty good. Now I want to fill a face right in here, so I can hold down the Alt key and then just select right here, and that's going to select the ring of vertices, the loop of vertices, and then I can press F to fill a face there. And let's do that down here. So hold down the Alt key, select that loop of vertices, and then press the F key, that's going to fill a face. Let's press Ctrl S to save. So then hover your mouse over this object and press L. That's going to select the linked vertices. And then I can press 1 on the numpad to go to front view. And then I can press G to grab, bring this over, and S to scale. And then you could just rotate this and kind of get it right, but I know that I can rotate it over exactly by 45 degrees. Because this to this, that's 90 degrees, going all the way down to the side. So going halfway, that's going to be 45 degrees. So I can press R to rotate, and then I can type in 45, and then I actually need to type in negative after that, and you can see right up there it says negative 45, and I can hit enter. Now if you look over there, that is exactly aligned with that bevel. So I can press G to grab, and S to scale, and G to grab, and just align it up with the reference. Then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. I'm going to hold down the Z button, go into wireframe, and I can press G to grab, click with my middle mouse wheel and just stick it right there. Maybe bring it over a little bit, and then I want to have one more, so I'll press Shift D to duplicate, click and hold with my mouse wheel to constrain it to the y-axis, and just stick it right there. Alright, I can hold down the Z button and go back into the solid view. And then I can press the Tab key to go back to object mode, and then just use the object context menu to shade this object smooth. And let's press Ctrl S again to save. And then there is one thing that I noticed. I'm gonna press the Tab key to go into edit mode, kind of zoom in here. I wanna click right here to go to the face select, and I'm gonna select this face, and I just wanna bring it down a little bit. So I'm gonna press 1 on the numpad for front view. I can hold down the Z button, go into the wireframe, and then I can press G and Z, and I'm just gonna bring this down and stick it there. Hold down the Z button, go back to solid view, and that is better. All right, tab back into object mode, and I'll press Ctrl S to save. So this is it for all of the robot's head, which is mirrored. So there are a few more things that I want to add to the robot's head, but I don't want them to be mirrored to the other side. They're going to be different on each side. So these other parts that I want to add are going to be a separate object. So make sure you are in object mode, and I'm going to hold down the Shift S button, hold down the Shift and S button. We're going to go to cursor to world origin and then let go. That's going to put the 3D cursor right there in the center. So I'm now going to add a new object for these other details that I want to add. So I'm going to press Shift A, I'm going to go to mesh, and I'm going to start by adding a cube. And then before I move the cube, I'll just press the Tab key to go into edit mode. I can press G to grab, bring it up, and S to scale. Let's scale this down. And if I press 1 on the numpad for front view, if I zoom in here, I want to create this little thing right here, which is on the robot's head. So I can press G to grab, and then S to scale. Let's also press 7 on the numpad for top view. That'll make it a bit easier. Hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe. G to grab, and then S to scale, and just kind of place that there. And I can also scale it a bit, so let's scale it on the y-axis and make it a bit longer. All right, hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view. So I'm now going to select this face, hold down the Shift key, select this face, and I want to extrude them out and then kind of scale them down. So I'm going to press E to extrude, and then right after that, I'm going to press S to scale, and I'm going to scale these out from each other. And then I can press 1 on the numpad. Actually, I want to press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. I can hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe. So I'm going to scale these out until they are the correct length, and then I want to scale them down by their individual origins. Right now, we are scaling it from the center of both of these two planes, which are selected, but I want to make it so that they are scaled by the center of themselves. So to do this, you can click right here on the transform pivot point, and I'm going to change this to individual origins. So I can now press S to scale, and I can scale this down, and you can see they're scaling by their own individual origins. So I'm just going to scale this down to about there. Then I can double tap the A key to select everything, and I can press G and Z, and I'm going to bring that down just a little bit more. All right, hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view. That's looking pretty good. And then right down here, I'm just going to select this bottom face, and I can press I, and I is going to inset the face. I'll bring it down, make it a bit smaller, then I can press E to extrude, and we're just going to stick it into the robot's head. All right, just like that. I can tab to go back to object mode, and you can see this is looking very sharp, whereas everything else is just a little bit smooth and it looks more realistic, and that's because of that bevel. So what I'm going to do is copy the bevel modifier to this object, because I want to use the exact same bevel modifier settings. So what I can do is just select this object and make sure you're in object mode. Then I can hold down the shift key and I can select this object. So this object is selected last. I can now press Control L, and Control L is going to bring up the link and transfer data, and I want to go right down here and click on copy modifiers. So it's going to take the modifiers from this object and it's going to copy it to this object. Now I don't want the mirror modifier because I don't want this to be mirrored, so click on this object, make sure this object is selected, and on the mirror modifier you can just press the X key to get rid of that, but you can see that we still have the bevel modifier. And then using the object context menu, I can just shade this object smooth. Alright, and if you just noticed something different about me, I got a haircut. It's also a little later in the day, so the lighting is a little bit different. So I now want to add an antenna, and I want to have it kind of coming up and then going over. So I'm going to use one of these pipe objects as the base. So just make sure you're in object mode. I'm going to select the head object, and then I'm going to press the tab key to go into edit mode, and then press the A key a few times to make sure everything is deselected. So I'm just going to zoom in to this object right here, and I'm going to press the L key. That's going to select the linked vertices. I can now press Shift D to duplicate. Let's bring this up, and then I want to separate it into its own object so that we can add it to the other object. So I'm going to press the P key, and the P key will bring up the separate options. Now I want to click on selection because I want to separate the selection into its own object. So I'm going to click on selection, then I can tab to go back to object mode, and I can just select this object. So now this is a separate object and I want to join it together with this object. So I'm going to select this object and then hold down the shift key and select this object. So this one here is the last one that's selected because I want to join this one into this object. So I can now press Control J. Control J is going to join them together. So if I press tab to go into edit mode, you can see now they're the same object. Let's press Control S again to save. All right, so now I'm going to model the antenna. So I'm going to press 3 on the numpad. That's going to take me to side view. And I'm going to hover my mouse over this object and press L. That's going to select the linked vertices. And I can press G to grab. Let's bring this up here. I can also hold down the Z button, go into wireframe and let go. And I can press S to scale and G to grab. And I'm just going to make this fit the reference. So something like that is pretty good. Alright, so I now want to add a loop cut in here. So I'm going to press Control R to add a loop cut. I can click to place the loop cut, bring it over, and then click again just to place the loop cut right there. So I'm now going to press A to deselect everything, and then I want to delete this part right here. So I'm going to go right here, click on the vertex select, and then I can press B for the box select. I'm just going to drag a box around these vertices, and then I can press X to delete, and we want to delete the vertices. And then I'm going to zoom in here, and let's press B for the box select, just select those vertices. So I'm now going to press E to extrude. Let's extrude these on the y-axis, and I actually want to flatten them, so I'm going to press S to scale. Let's scale this on the y-axis, and then I can hit 0 and enter just to flatten those so they're straight up and down. Then I can press S to scale, make that smaller, maybe bring it back a little bit. Then I can press E to extrude again, and we're going to bring it out on the y-axis again, and then I can press S to scale that down, maybe bring it back a little bit, and then I can just press the F key to fill a face there. So if I press period on the numpad, that's going to zoom over to it. I can hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and I can also just press S to scale, maybe scale that up a little bit. So now if I tab back into object mode, we just have a little bit of a rounding there on the end of the antenna. Alright, so I can press the tab key to go back into edit mode, and I'm going to hold down the alt key and just select that loop of vertices. And then I believe this loop of vertices also isn't perfectly flat, so let's press S to scale. I can hit Z to scale it on the Z axis, and then I can type 0 and enter, just to make sure that's fully flat. And then I can press 1 on the numpad, actually 3 on the numpad for side view, and I want to extrude this down, so I can press E to extrude. Let's hit Z to bring it down on the Z axis and just place it there. And then I can just press period on the numpad to zoom into it. Let's press E to extrude, and then I'm going to press S to scale, and let's scale this out. And then I can press E to extrude, and we're going to hit Z to bring it down on the Z axis and just bring it right down there. All right, and then hover your mouse over the object, and we're going to press L to select the linked vertices. I can press 1 on the numpad for front view, and then I can just bring this over. So I'll press G to grab, bring it over on the X-axis, and just stick it here. And of course, if you want to, you can totally model all of these sci-fi details how you want. You can add some things or remove some things and change some different things if you want to. You don't have to make it just like mine or just like the reference. You can change it up a bit if you want to. So I'm going to hold down the Z button and go back to the solid view and let go. And then I can press the tab key to go back into object mode, and that's looking pretty good. All right, so I now want to add a little light, which is kind of right here on the side of the robot's head. So I'm going to be using this eye object that we already modeled, and I'm going to again break it into its own object and then join it together into this object. So let's select this object right here. I'll press the tab key to go to edit mode. Just press the A key to make sure everything is deselected. So I can now hover my mouse over this object and press L, and then also press L with your mouse hovered over that object. And I want to duplicate them, so let's press Shift D to duplicate, just bring it up here. And then I can press the P key. That's going to bring up the separate, and I'm going to separate by selection. So I can now press tab to go into object mode, and then I can just select this object. Then I want to join this object in with this object, and this object here, these are all the sci-fi details that aren't mirrored. So I'm first going to select this object, then hold down the shift key and select this object last. And then to join objects together, the shortcut key is Control J. So Control J will join them together. And now if I tab into edit mode, you can see they're joined together. And then I want to delete these little sci-fi details right here. So to do this, I'm going to press 1 on the numpad to go to front view. I can hold down the Z button, go to wireframe, and then I want to go right here, click right here to go to the vertex select. I can press the A key to deselect everything, press B for the box select. I'm just going to drag a box around these vertices, and then I want to delete them. So let's press X to delete, and I want to delete the vertices. And then I can hold down the Z button, go back into solid view. So now I want to fill these faces, so I can just select this vertex, hold down the shift key, select this vertex, and then I can just press the F key, and the F key is just going to fill those faces. All right, just like that. So then hover your mouse over these objects and press the L key. That's going to select these objects. I can press 1 on the numpad to go to front view. I can hold down the Z button, go into wireframe and let go. And then I can press G to grab, and then S to scale, and G to grab, and just fit this to the reference. And then I want to rotate this over exactly by 90 degrees. So I can press R to rotate. I can type in 9, 0, and enter to rotate that over by 90 degrees. Hold down the Z button, go back into solid view, and I also want to press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. I can press G to grab. Let's bring this forward on the y-axis, and I'm just going to stick that right there. And then also I just noticed we do have some extra vertices in there that we don't need. So let's hold down the Z button, go into wireframe and let go, and we can just delete those extra vertices in there. So I'm going to press the B key. That's going to bring up the box select, and I'm going to click with my middle mouse wheel and then drag a box around these vertices and let go. That's going to deselect these vertices because these are the ones I want to keep. So now we just have these ones. So I'm going to press X and we can just delete the vertices. All right, and then we can do that right up here. So let's actually navigate inside the object, and I can tab to go back to object mode. Let's hold down the Z button, and I'm going to go back into the solid view. And you can see we have some extra vertices in here, so we can just delete these so that the topology is less. So I'm going to select this object. Just make sure you select the main head object, and I can tab to go into edit mode. So I can now hold down the Alt key. I'm just going to Alt and select that ring of vertices, and then I can press X to delete, and let's delete the vertices. And then hover your mouse over this object and press the L key. That's going to select the linked vertices, and then I can press X to delete, and again we want to delete the vertices. All right, so now that doesn't look any different, but we have lower topology. And then I don't quite know what happened here, but you can see that circle there is like way far back. So I'm just going to select this object again. Let's press tab to go into edit mode. Hover your mouse over this object, and I'm going to press L to select the linked vertices, and then I can press period on the numpad to zoom into it. So I can press G to grab, and then let's bring this forward on the y-axis. Just bring that forward, and then I can also press S to scale that up. All right, there we go. That's looking much better. All right, so there's just one more little thing that I want to add. I want to add kind of a little metal plating right here. So what I'm going to do in this object, make sure you are in the object which doesn't have the mirror. So I'm going to tab into edit mode to this object, and then I can press Shift A, and I'm going to add a cube. Let's press G to grab, and then S to scale, and G to grab, kind of bring this right here, scale it down. I can press 1 on the numpad to go to front view. I can hold down the Z button and go into the wireframe, and then I can press S to scale. We'll scale this way down and press G to grab, and I'm just going to stick it right here and kind of align it to the reference. And then I can press S to scale, and we want to scale this on the X-axis and just make that bigger, and then I can just bring that over. All right, and then I can press 3 on the numpad to go to side view. I can press G to grab. Let's bring this back on the Y-axis and just stick it right here really close to the head. So I can hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view, and that is looking very good. I might just bring it just a little bit back, so G to grab, bring it back on the Y-axis, and just stick that right there. All right, tab to go back to object mode, and then we need to shade this smooth because if you zoom way in there, you can see it's sharp. So use the object context menu just to shade this smooth. All right, so press Control S again to save, and this is it for part 1 of the Sci-Fi Mech Robot tutorial series. So we have finished the head modeling. So I hope you've been enjoying the tutorial series so far, and thank you so much for watching. So I'm going to be releasing one part each day of the tutorial series. So when part 2 is released, it will be right down there in the video description. I will also have a link in the description to the entire tutorial playlist, and I will also throw the link to part 2 right up there on the end screen. And again, I am trying to create Blender content for a living, so if you'd like to help support me and this channel, some great places to do that are on my Gumroad store and Patreon page. And on my Gumroad and Patreon, you can get the project files for this tutorial, as well as lots of other Blender content like 3D models and assets, artwork project files, and procedural materials. And you can also check out the YouTube memberships by clicking on the join button right down there next to the subscribe button. That's a great way to help support me monthly here on YouTube. And if you're enjoying these tutorials, you can also give me a little tip by sending me a super thanks here on YouTube underneath this video. And also just liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing my videos is a great way to help support me. So I do appreciate all of your support. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in part 2.